So what's up guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to be talking about compromised accounts and compromised users in M365. So who is a compromised user? A compromised user is a user whose account has been compromised or taken advantage of by malicious actors, most times unknowingly by this user. Okay, so most of the times malicious actors like to attack administrators because, especially global admins, because global admins have a lot of privileges, they have a lot of permissions, and they can do a lot of things on the tenants. So actors like to target those accounts in order to take advantage and infiltrate the system. So most of the times we usually get the issue from our users, and it always comes like this: oh, I can't send emails, I can't receive emails. So sometimes it's one user who is affected, and we dive in to investigate what's going on. You understand? So sometimes it's about the user not being able to send emails due to performing bulk email send using the M365 system. So the M365 system does not advise customers to make use of the system for bulk email send. So when the email user uses a system for bulk email send, then the user accounts might end up being restricted from sending emails, and the user raise a request or raise an issue that is unable to send emails. So we usually first we go and take a look at the security admin center in order to find out if truly it is just a restricted user unable to send email. Okay, and we can do that by going to email and collaboration review. All right, so just hold on. So in this admin center, we'll be able to see what's going on and why this user is not able to send emails under restricted entities. So peradventure the user has sent a lot of bulk emails in the past using the M365 system, the account might get restricted from sending emails further. So we will usually see the account here, and we can just release the account from the restricted entities, and the user should be good to go. But then that's just if it was a legitimate activity that was performed by this user. Okay, but then we see situations whereby it's more than this. It's more than a restricted entity. It's more than a bulk email send. Users are unable to send emails and receive emails, usually on a tenant-wide level. So now we need to investigate what is going on with the tenant, what is going on with the users, as this can affect business business activities, and an organization not being able to send email is a big issue. So first we need to go over to this link. I'll provide this link in the description, so you can just have a quick reference to it. We'll go over to this link. It's in Security Admin Center under Report, Email and Collaboration Report, and Insight. So this link and this dashboard allows us to have a very quick overview of what's going on the tenant, email wise, security wise. So we can see a lot of tools, a lot of dashboard information that is relevant for us to quickly assess and understand what is happening on this tenant in order to quickly remediate issues that might have been happening. So in your free time, you can go over all the other dashboard, but the one I'm particular about for this video is the top sender and recipient information. So I'll click view more details. Now this dashboard will, right now there are no strange activities happening on my tenant, but if this was a compromised tenant, then you'll see this dashboard will review a lot of information, will review a lot of senders on this tenant, and will show me the highest sender and the item count, as you see right here. So usually when a user is compromised, you see an item count of like 32,000 emails just in a very short period of time. This will trigger the back-end system, which will restrict the tenant, and you'll see tenant threshold exceeded. So users will no longer be able to send emails on this tenant because the system has detected that there's an infiltration in the email system of this tenant. So right now there are no top senders, but you see the top senders in the tenant, and this will now point us to investigate what went wrong on that particular user. So take for example, we saw a particular account here on this top sender. Take for example, we saw a particular user as being the top sender on the tenant. We can now go ahead and investigate who the user is and what happened, what went wrong about this user. Take for example, we saw this user in top sender here. So we need to go over to the identity portal immediately and go over to users. So if you want to get to the identity portal, you can just come here, show all. I've opened all the tabs so that it's just quick. Click on identity, come over to the identity portal, click on all users. Now we need to find that particular user, and this is the user that I'm suspecting. Take for example, is a top sender on the tenant. Click on this particular user, and so right now we want to investigate where this user has been signing in from. Okay, so we click on all users. Now what we need to do, we need to audit that particular user. We'll search for the user, okay, and click on the user. So we need to audit the sign-in logs of this user, because that will give us an insight to understand if the user was compromised. So yes, we can now click on the users, all users, and then we locate the particular user. We are particular about the sign-in logs. Now the sign-in logs will be able to show us this user that we've suspected who is in the top sender. Will show us the user and the sign-in activities of this user. So this is the user, and what we are very interested in is the location where this user is signing in from. So right now we can see Lagos, Nigeria, and that's because I'm from Lagos, right, Nigeria, and I'm signing in from Lagos, Nigeria. So if this user was compromised, we will definitely see another location written right here, maybe US or any other country, or Canada or wherever, which is different from our usual operating environment or where this user normally operates. So that will quickly point us to the fact that this must be the user that was affected. So if we've been able to isolate that this is the user that was affected, we need to do a little some quick things. We need to block access to this user. We need to reset the password, revoke the session, the sign-in sessions for this particular user, and turn on multi-factor authentication for this user immediately. Okay, turn on multi-factor authentication for the user and require the user to um, set up this multi-factor authentication in order to continue using his or her account. So once that is done, the next thing you need to do is to go over to the mailbox of this user, because if it was an administrator or whoever, the attacker must have entered the mailbox and performed some activities. So one of the activities that is usually done is attacker might have set up a forwarding rule. You need to check that there are no forwarding rules, disable the forwarding rules that are not familiar to the user. You need to also check up if there are any rules created, inbox rule created by the attacker in order to compromise emails. So once that is done, we remove any strange rules. Next on our list will be to secure the user, make sure the user is using the multi-factor authentication and that there are no inbox rules. The next thing to be done is to make sure that we investigate any strange connectors on the tenant. This can be done in the Exchange Admin Center. We need to find out if there are any connectors, because the attacker might have created a connector on the tenant using this user account, and with the hopes of using that connector to send and receive emails or to relay information outside the tenant or into the tenant without the administrators being aware. So we need to check there are no connectors. If there are any connectors that were created and we are not aware of, we need to disable those connectors, remove them from the system, and then Once that is done, raise a support request because these tenants would have been thresholded from the back end. So there's nothing you can really do from the M365 admin center to mitigate such action. So this tenant must have been restricted from the back end. So because of the tenant threshold restricted um, policy, so there's nothing you can really do from the admin center to mitigate that. So raise a support request from the admin center to a support engineer, M365 support engineer from the backend to help you restrict your release your tenant from the tenant threshold. Okay, so that you can now be able to continue sending emails. So once you do that, they will make sure that they go through those steps I've already mentioned, tenants. But once you reach out to them, they will also require that you follow through these activities to ensure that the tenant is free from the attacker before performing that action of releasing the tenant. So it's essential to follow through these activities to make sure that you're good. So, but aside that, there are a few things that you can do to make sure that you mitigate any form of risk from happening. One is to ensure that you have the least amount of administrators needed on the tenant. You don't need so many administrators. Only have global admins that are necessary for the tenant. Okay, this ensures that you mitigate the numbers of um, administrators that are more likely to be compromised in the future. Okay, so secondly, after minimizing the number of administrators you have, make sure that all users are multi-factor enabled. This is very important because multi-factor authentication secures the user in a second authentication method. So attackers will need to go through a lot in order to be able to gain access, which is almost impossible. They would need the multi-factor device. So if users have the multi-factor, attackers will keep on trying but will not be able to succeed in gaining access to the system. This is very important. So, and thirdly, the global admin account should, if possible, not be used for email communication because this is one of the quickest ways for attackers to quickly identify global admin accounts and infiltrate them. So, global admin accounts should be used for administrative purposes as much as possible only so that this can mitigate the risk. Also ensure that multi-factor authentication is turned on for all your users on the tenant. This secures the users better and also enable it for all the users, enable it for per user MFA and for all the users so that this can secure the tenants better. Okay, so if you run through the steps, this should be able to protect your account from possible infiltration by attackers. And if you ever get the tenant threshold exceeded limit or the and you suspect the restricted entity, do well to raise a request to the administrators, raise a request to the support engineers on the back end in order to be able to assist you quickly in resolving that issue because this can affect email delivery and communication, which is very important for your organization. So thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for being with me on this content. If you enjoy this kind of content, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be releasing more content like this in the future so that you can secure your administrative tasks more efficiently. Okay, thank you, and that's it for me for now. Peace out.